He collected, hoping somebody'd use parts. Go down the line in the sale order. 66 Tempest 4-door. Any of these projector parts. Some of these you might see a $1,200 car and you add up what the parts are worth and it's like $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 worth of parts. 70 Lemans 4-door. 73 Lemans. It's a colonnade style. '69 Lemans. So I'm kind of looking at this one, thinking about what's there for my GTO. And honestly, realistically, it's quite a lot. I'm not a real mechanical guy, so if I can find something like this where all the pieces are still in it, that's a good deal to just not have to search for little things all over. Fortunately, that engine didn't turn when I tried it, so get what you get, I guess. We'll see what happens. This one's on the list. Another 69 Lemans. This is a bit of an oddball in that it's a 2-door post car. A lot of good parts on these seats and frame and everything, but 2-door post is just unique enough car. That one really ought to be saved and be back on the road. Got a 66 Grand Prix. Been used pretty hard. This looks like a regular full-size car. Grand Prix actually had its own back glass. See, that's got like a concave shape, whereas your regular Catalinas and everything else, your Venturas, had a more of a fastback roofline that was actually shared with the 66 Impala. '73. This one's called a Laguna, but I don't think that's right. Laguna was a Chevelle. This would be Lemans more than likely. Sport Coupe, I think, is what they called everything with that roof line. I didn't exhaustively research these. What I could tell from the pictures, they were all realistically parts cars, so just not something that I'd drive 800 miles one way for when I don't have one like it that I'm working on. But for any of the crowd that's close here, a lot of good parts on that. This one actually has an original assembly line guide power beam headlight. Parts of a Fiero. Here you can kind of see the unique engine in the middle, leaving the trunk to be little of nothing up front. They actually did mount the radiator up here to the front for cooling. There's a lot of engineering to build this car. Really unique. I've never personally been into them. I like the GM cars of this era, but more like the 3800 front wheel drives. Here you can see in the back, just your basic regular 2.8 V6. I remember seeing a thing about these catching on fire, and I'm really not sure why, if the heat just didn't vent that well or if the fiberglass was prone to being flammable. I'm not really a historian of Fieros, let's say. '65 Tempest. A lot of parts gone, a lot of parts still there. '69 is an actual GTO, and there's a whole lot of rough on that car. You got rusty windshield opening. This one's just very, very rusty overall. Frame I think is okay. Just really depend how much somebody wanted to put into this to bring it back. And I mean, I say that having one that's less complete and worse shape than what this one is, but if this hobby made sense, disc brake car, bucket seats, console, back seat, it's got some pieces. Floor shift, non-tilt column. The best part of this car is it does have the vinyl top moldings, which these long ones around the sides and the back are not reproed. They only make the corners. So if you got a vinyl top car and you're committed to keeping it original, there's probably $300 just in that trim, probably more than that. This one here, 71 Lemans Sport. Unique car because it's a 4-door hardtop, but it's already given up its front clips, so that kind of punches its ticket for a parts car. 64 Bonneville for parts, 74 Nova for parts. Whoever buys the GTO probably needs that body. 72 Lemans. And then this 61 Bonneville. It's the bubble top car. $49 for parts. Pretty rough. This Aztec, really, really nice shape. I hated them when they were new. I haven't acquired any affinity for them since, but for whatever strange reason, people are starting to collect these. All I can say is mental illness manifests itself in many forms. If you were going to collect one, I mean, this would be the one to collect. It's just pristine. Last in the row, 53 4-door. Definitely on the rough side, but he had a heart for these old cars and didn't want to see any of them go away, and that's why even the bad ones he collected, hoping somebody'd use parts, and that's going to be determined tomorrow what they sell for and who buys them. 85 Trans Am. That's a desirable car. T-tops. Manual shift car. These will only continue to accumulate value as time goes on. Next to it, the Camaro. She was on the road in 16. It's a project. People laugh at these cars, but honestly, if you've got a kid that's wanting to get into old cars, these are good, just entry level, something they can learn mechanics and find parts for. And if they keep it up nice and don't wreck it, they can surely only stand to gain collector value. Pristine ones already have been. Got the Lemans for parts. Pretty beat up old car, really, but there may be pieces there for somebody to use. It's a bucket seat car. Lemans wagon. Somebody's restoring one of these. There's a lot there of value. Lemans Sport Coupe. Really, really rusty car. This thing's pretty beat. They just have such appealing lines to them. They're really attractive car from every angle. '69 Tempest or Lemans. That's a bench seat car. Not sure what that custom S designation was. What made that more deluxe model than a regular old Tempest. Grand Am. Very first usage of the Grand Am name. See the special badges and the special decals. Bucket seats. Just based on looks, the Grand Am would have been kind of more your luxury model. Share some parts out of the Grand Prix bin, possibly. This actually technically is the same platform as the Grand Prix. Then we've got the early 70s style Grand Prix. So these were built on the A-body chassis, like the Tempest Ventura. They actually stretched the frame. See, it's got a longer nose to it. Very traditional styling cues. Long hood, short trunk. Very iconic cars. '52, I believe, Studebaker. Probably a parts car, but kind of neat with the suicide doors. '59 two-door post. Strictly a parts car. Rough old battered thing. 70 Lemans. Another 55 four-door parts car. 66 Catalina two-door. Show the back glass on this. That was shared with the Impala. It's got just an even swoop to it. Not the concave look like the Grand Prix did. Next, I believe 65 Catalina. A lot of parts if you need parts. 66 Bonneville. Bonneville actually had a longer chassis than the Catalina. 65 and 6 have a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. And there's a 70. This one's got really nice body, but everything's been taken out of it, so take two and make one. You could take a rusty parts car and this shell and build something really good car. Here's a 69 Catalina wagon. That one's similar to the Ventura wagon. Catalina, just a little less body trim. This one's been used really hard, and it's been all vandalized. So you can see it's growing the magic moss in the back. This one's strictly parts. 63 Star Chief. Good parts car. And last one, this was kind of a bit of his yard art. Just sitting out here for looks. This is a 42 Pontiac they call a torpedo body, which is like a Chevrolet Aero sedan. Be good parts here if you had a car that somebody'd gotten a damaged roof or botched a chop. That's a perfect roof to fix it with. This thing probably laid out at some old farm, presumably next to the tin can dump. Left for dead, but it contains parts that can revive others and help them live. Here's the Pepsi Challenger go-kart. Supposed to loosely be like 82 Trans Am, I think. Got the Sears Allstate scooter. This thing's pretty pounded down and left for dead, but it's just got a super neat distressed patinaed look to it. It'd be great yard art. Little vintage lubester. Kawasaki Aircraft. I'm not sure at all what that is. I've never seen or heard of that. I don't know if that's something else they rebadged or branded or what. And then another scooter. I'm not real up on these at all. Could be Vespa, maybe. Silver Pigeon. So Probably a copy of a Vespa that's American manufacturer, maybe. That's got a neat patina too. Cool old scooter, yeah. Got the all original unrestored Coke cooler. It's kind of an oddball one with a coin op top lid, and then dispense them out of there. I'll bet that's kind of a rare one. And we got the point of sale cooler there. And we got the traditional upright vending coolers. 60s era. 7-Up one there has the Pepsi call-outs on it. Cool garage decor. Some of these actually work and chill, and you can actually use them, keep your beverages in them. Got the partly restored visible gas pump. They do remake quite a lot of the panels and parts for these, so if you just have one that's a skeleton frame, you can restore it. And got the Tokum, possibly Phillips 66, got a shield on it. Another short Tokum. And then a couple of these short Waynes, like that short one inside, they're probably farm usage. Then we got the vintage Tokum there. That one's had Gilmore repro signage added to it, and that's kind of a neat display look to it. Just a little mix of old and new. Lots of seats. So your 64 and 5 seats just had the short side trim for the A body, intermediates, GTO, Chevelle, Lemans. Your big cars, which there aren't any big car seats out here, but that chrome actually went in a band all the way over the top. So that's an easy way to identify them. Set with the headrests, 69 and later. Just set a side button. Those are 67, 68. Got the pearl white. I can't remember the catalog name for that. I don't think it was parchment, but I'm drawing a blank. But that pearl white was a pretty popular catalog color for the interiors. And we got the swivel buckets. These are 73 to 7. Those actually bring pretty decent money on eBay. $500-600. And a set of F-body seats. There's actually a full-size one, so there you can see that chrome band over the top. And back seats. These are really hard to find in good shape. They bring good money. There's a maybe full-size car with the speaker grill. Got the arrowhead designs, some of them. Rear ends, engine blocks. He did kind of sell and find stuff for people, so some of these just kind of what's left over after all that. And there's really probably still decent ones here, just ones people hadn't had a use for just yet. Almost everything here is Pontiac, but there is Chrysler Hemi there. Pretty interesting straight 8. Only Pontiac, Packard, and Buick used a straight 8. Buick's was overhead valve, Pontiac's was a flathead. So that was kind of the reason for the overlap and the duplication on 2 GM cars. Obviously a straight inline engine like that makes a huge amount of torque. And one more over here that's pretty interesting piece. This is a 57 GMC. So you can see just a direct parts bin Pontiac V8. Exhaust probably different to clear your cross members, and bell housing and trans may have been specifically engineered to the GMC trucks as well. But that's a fairly significant piece of GM manufacturing history, and the reason that GM and Pontiac kind of lumped their GMCs together, and now with collector market they kind of hold hands a little bit.
Am stuff that was supposed to get that stuff removed, and I'm like, I gotta come down and buy that.
Yeah, it's probably all mixed in now.
Yeah.
You try to separate things, but
Oh, yeah.
So in the garage we got a bit of a sign collection. There's the old city service. This is a huge one. Even in that condition, still desirable, still a good barn hanger. There'll still be people that want that. A friend of mine that collects these signs was telling me back in the day that they used to not even, nice ones of these 6-footers, they used to not even really care about, and now the market's a lot stronger. Got the short gas pump there. That's kind of more of a private dispensing. A lot of farms had these. Some of these were derivatives of actual full-size tall pumps and shared a lot of parts, and then some were probably their own design. Not exactly sure what the brand of that one is. Then we got the painted light up Pontiac dealer sign. That galvanizing kind of has a slick surface to it, and it doesn't hold the paint real well, but this one's weathered down pretty nice and looking good. One that's painted like that, you just leave it original. You don't restore it or do much to it other than fixing the lighting. We got the gold bond stamps. Those are way before my time, so I don't know too much about them. The signs were fairly common. Got the plastic Schmidt beer sign. A lot of people aren't crazy over plastic signs, but I actually kind of like them because you can hang them up and put a fluorescent light behind them, and They actually look pretty good in the shop, but I'm not a beer guy. Got the painted tin Schlitz beer. That one's been stored down on the ground, but it still has good presentation, has good coloring. Sign like that, it's still worth several $100s. Got the Coca-Cola great weathered patina. That thing's actually 1/2-inch plywood, kind of interesting. Amico 120 super tires. And more tire signs there. It's kind of a cool cardboard American oil. A lot of people aren't too into cardboard signs, but I kind of like them just because when you see a cardboard sign that survived, it really took something for it to make it through the decades. Got the Mercury outboard sign with the matching boat. I'd never been to North Dakota. This was my first trip. I was surprised how many lakes there are up here. Cool old security car care. That one's plastic and it's super fragile piece. De-icer. Great North Dakota sign. Imperial brass cabinet. GE clock's a super cool piece. 7-Up. Got the restored mailbox. The Chrysler clock. Pam clock is a very common manufacturer. That's a really great clock because it's a huge thing's almost 2 feet. Usually you see a lot of smaller clocks, but that size is hard to find. Sadly, it's been cracked, but I mean, it still displays nice. That flat glass, it's stable in there. It's not like a curved one that's gonna come apart. And that old emblem on there, they only used that maybe about 10 years. About 40 to about 48 or so. 7-Up clocks, and we got the neat old service station ringer. Got a nice Art Deco stainless designed it. Parking meter. Tractor. Apparently repainted. Don't know that there were any blue tractors around in that period. Got the pedal car. It's kind of got a racer look with the soapbox derby wheels. The white one there is repro piece. Trico wiper blade cabinet. These are neat, but a lot of your collectors aren't crazy over stuff that takes up floor space. They want to have things that can hang up on the wall. That Atlas cabinet has a really neat look to it. It's kind of shaped like a gas pump. Atlas was the parts brand for standard stations. And they did the whole Saucony split with the antitrust thing. I think Atlas was branded by most all of them that were under that umbrella. You got the GMC signs. A lot of people aren't real familiar, but GMC and Pontiac are kind of associated, not just because they're both from General Motors, but they actually used Pontiac V8s in the 50s, GMC trucks, around about 58, 9. I think they started maybe 55, just kind of that generation mainly. And then in the 60s, they had that kind of weird V6 that came in many displacements and made terrible gas mileage. Merrimont parts company, they sold shocks and I'm not sure what all else. Auto parts, Champion spark plug, cleaner. It's got a little sandblast cabinet in there, and stick the plug in, hit the deal, give her a blast cleaner up. That's a relic of our society before we became more of a throwaway, and before we developed platinum plugs that go 100,000 miles between changes. This little guy here is actually a fold-out barbecue grill, and that's a new unused piece. Kind of hard to find. Any of them that got used, the paint pretty well burned off of them, and yeah, they're not collector quality, but that one's super nice. The old zinc plating still sharp with no surface rust, so that's a good desirable piece. And in the cans, we've also got the wheat belt antifreeze. These two, super nice shape, no rust. And we've got the Indian head. That was a Permatex marketing thing. Obvious tie to Pontiac, not directly, but just similar marketing strategies. City service, most of theirs was branded white with the green. That's what the stations had for their porcelain panels, but you do see the blue and the purple. And we've got the NOS sealed full can of standard, which is pretty cool with the penguin call-outs. And you got the Puritan brake fluid. The Buffalo there is definite North Dakota tie-in. See, it was made in Minot there. That's a good, desirable piece if anybody collects things specific to certain states. Got the John Deere antifreeze can. These oil signs are repro, but they're still cool. Got the little Atlas battery tote. Some Chromie Go Fast parts. And wood grain steering wheels, consoles.
Are they worth several hundred? No.
You could have a console mounted tack, or you could have the console mounted vacuum gauge. Got the cool light up plastic Indian head hood ornaments. There's actually a little bulb and a harness that ran down, tied into the headlight circuit, and lit those up. Texaco. And these are 64 or 5 spinner hubcaps. And behold the carnage. I'm sure there's some kind of story for how it all got this way, but there was quite a battle fought there.